Warning, before you proceed to watch the rest of this video, make sure that you have watched all of Season 2 and the first 4 episodes of the Passing Comparison series. If you do not do so, you'll be spoiled of past results. I'll give you 10 seconds. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the main video. Hello everybody, this is Hypersonic and welcome back to the Sonic CD Passing Comparison series. In the last episode, the US soundtrack beat the Japanese soundtrack and Quartz Quadrant passed by a landslide, one of the biggest marches we've ever seen so far in the show. And in today's video, as the US soundtrack is nearing victory, in today's video we're going to be going to Stardust Speedway, which takes place canonically after the first 4 stages, as it looks like it takes place in Rome instead of the dinosaur ages. So we're actually going to see a huge time skip here, in which after Stardust Speedway we'll go into Metallic Man's Wacky Workbench. I flipped the stages because I think that makes things a whole lot more interesting, and there's some symbolic nature to it as well. But in today's video we're going to be going to Stardust Speedway Pass, so let's get to it. Stardust Speedway passed. It looks a lot like Rome. Look at the water, look at that starry sky, look at all those buildings in the background. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's probably the prettiest past time zone in the entire game. I think this even outclasses Quartz Quadrant past. Round 5, Stardust Speedway Pass. Here's the Japanese version. And now for the American version. Let's compare. The Japanese version of Stardust Speedway Pass is very relaxed, which certainly fits that nighttime appeal of the track. It certainly fits the background of the track, how it takes place in the night. And it fits the starry skies. It has a very good melody. It has very good instrument use, especially with that piano towards the middle, and it has a good bass line and good percussion. It's a really good fit for the pass and a really good fit for Stardust Speedway, and I think this was a really well-made track. As for the American version, it certainly fits that Starry Night Sky type of feel. I like the use of the synths in the song too. It tries to go for a bit more of a nostalgic appeal, which could work for some of the passing, as it really could, and so far a lot of KMS's songs do use these types of synths to create such a feel, and I can't shame it for this one too, because it does a good job at that at least. Now, as far as weaknesses go, the Japanese version of Stardust Speedway Pass could be a bit more modernized for some, because this is supposed to take place in what looks like ancient Greece or ancient Rome, as we can tell by the architecture. And that could be found as a bit off to some people. And the same problem also exists with the American version too, where the US version, some of the instruments in the US version sound like they would play in some sort of dinosaur age. And this is ancient Rome, so I don't see why it's trying to take the past feeling a bit too prehistoric. I also feel like this melody is just something about this melody just feels a bit off. I feel like it's missing something, because the Japanese version has some energy to it too, while still being a very relaxed song, whereas this one, I'm not so sure. The American version, as I just said, just is missing something to it. It fits the past, sure, but it doesn't sound like a Stardust Speedway track to me. I get that it has the melody of the American Good feature, yeah, but it doesn't really just sound like something that would just be in Stardust Speedway. I think the execution of instruments here was very poor, in my opinion, especially in comparison to the Japanese version, which could use instruments effectively. It also had a very good melody too. It also wasn't as boring as the American version. It was quite an entertaining track. And it's all these reasons for why I think that Stardust Speedway passed the Japanese soundtrack, alongside the good feature of Stardust Speedway, are two of my favorite songs of all time. They still remain to be two of my favorite songs of all time too, despite being early favorites, which, as you guys have seen in Season 2, early favorites typically don't age well because they can't stand the test of time, but those two tracks actually do stand the test of time, in which I cannot see how the Japanese soundtrack would ever lose this round. Even if it got a bit closer, I can't see how the Japanese soundtrack would lose this track. So, the Japanese soundtrack gets this point. This was pretty much a free win at this point. And it's easily one of the biggest winning marches we've ever seen so far, and it rivals Quartz Quadrant Pass. The margin that it won by in the previous video is very similar to the one in this video for the Japanese soundtrack and Stardust Speedway Pass. So, the Japanese soundtrack will win Round 5, Stardust Speedway Pass. The Japanese soundtrack gets its second point, and the US soundtrack still has 3 points. So, looks like a late game boost may actually happen to the Japanese soundtrack after all. And if it wins through Metallic Madness Pass in the next video, you might just see a very close and contentious overall passing comparison series, as now it's just up to 4 for either soundtrack. 5 is out of the question. But the Japanese soundtrack is looking like it's going to make a little bit of a comeback if things keep continuing this way. Let's go back to the world map. The American soundtrack's at 3 points and the Japanese soundtrack at 2 points. And there's only 2 more rounds left, so the Japanese soundtrack still needs to sweep them both in order to win the entire series overall, whereas US soundtrack only needs to win 1. It still has the advantage right now. But will the Japanese soundtrack win and do that late game boost that's really powerful? I'm telling you, dude, the late game boost is powerful. You saw what happened in Season 2 with the American soundtrack. That late game boost is crucial. And that may very well happen to the Japanese soundtrack, but all is not said and done, and this is really anybody's game so far. I wouldn't get so happy for either soundtrack in terms of winning, because it's either soundtrack's time to win. it is anybody's game. And I hope you guys will see the next video soon. Stay tuned. Good night if you're watching this at night. Have a good day if you're watching this at daytime. And God bless you. And I'll see you guys in the next video.